So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the SwitchBot Lock. I'm not going to be talking about the installation or anything like that. I'm going to be talking about 9 months of me using it day to day. So I'm going to go through quickly what was in the box, but then I'm going to talk about its day-to-day use. I'm going to talk about the app, the API, its integrations that are available, the keypad touch, and also, of course, the battery life. So firstly, let's talk about the aesthetics of it. It's not ugly, but it's definitely not pretty either. And also, it only comes in black. I think it's a bit of a shame. I think it at least should come in white as well. There's lots of different mounting options available for it though, so I'll be very surprised if it doesn't fit your door in some shape or form. And as you can see here, there's various instruction manuals as well. For me, unfortunately, I needed to use the extra mounting system that comes included. That was because if I put it under the door, then unfortunately the mechanism of the lock was too long and so it wouldn't stick properly. And if I put it sideways, then the handle of the door would get in the way. So that's a shame because without the extra mount, it wouldn't be quite as ugly. The design of the keypad I think looks totally fine. Again, it's only available in black though. So on to its daily use. Well, in summary, I've never had an issue with it. It occasionally takes a while for it to open, even if you use the keypad. It's just a second or two, but you do notice it versus using a key. But other than that, it's been very reliable. I have another issue as well. We've got a multi-point door system, which means that you have to lift the handle up to lock it. And this lock doesn't cater for that, unfortunately. And in fact, all the locks on the market don't really cater for it. All of them still require you to pull up the handle. So that's a shame because if someone doesn't do that, then it means that it obviously fails to lock. But having said that, if it does fail to lock, it comes up with an error and it doesn't seem to cause an issue. This has happened many times for us and it's still working fine. One thing that I expected to have a problem with, which I haven't had a problem with, is the calibration of it. So when you first set it up, you need to calibrate it so that it knows where you lock and unlock it and how far to turn it. And I turn it just enough so that it locks and unlocks, whereas my partner turns it a bit more. But that doesn't confuse it at all. It still works fine every time and I haven't had to recalibrate it once. So you stick the lock onto the door using 3M tape that comes with it. Now I haven't had an issue with this at all. I've seen one review online where they complained that it fell off after a month and so they couldn't recommend the lock. But having said that, it looked like they had a bit of an old door and it was uneven. Whereas ours is a fairly new door and I've had it on for 9 months and there's no sign of it coming off at all. The door comes with a contact sensor as well so that it knows whether it's open or closed and also cleverly whether the door is ajar or not, and that has also worked flawlessly. If the door is ajar, then it doesn't try and lock the door. I've never had it where it's tried to lock the door when it's been ajar. The different ways of locking and unlocking are either using the knob on the SwitchBot itself, still using your key from the outside, or on the keypad. I've got the keypad touch so I can use fingerprint, but otherwise you can use NFC or a PIN number. We tend to just use our fingerprint, to be honest, because we consider that more secure. Now SwitchBot of course has an app and that's what you use to set up the device. Other than that, I don't really use the app very much. You can lock and unlock it from the app of course, and also change all the settings. We go in there to maybe change some settings such as how long it takes before the door auto locks, but it's not very often. You can also look at the logs in there where it will tell you who has opened and closed the door and at what time. Another reason why you'd probably want to go into the app is to set up new access codes so you can give permanent or temporary access codes to people. So whether that's via fingerprint or by a PIN number. So onto the API. I've actually done another video on accessing the SwitchBot API, so check out the video if you want to look at that. But in summary, it's not great. It works, but it's a bit unreliable and it comes back with some strange status codes. So if I was you, I would maybe stick with just using the SwitchBot app or use some of the other integrations that I'll talk about in a moment. One thing that's a real shame about the API is that it doesn't return who has actually unlocked the door. And this information is available because if you look in the logs, it actually tells you whether people have opened it manually via the API, whether it's fingerprint or PIN code. So it is a shame that that's not available via the API because then you could do some really cool automations off the back of that. So onto the standard integrations, you've got lots of the usual available. So you've got the Google option, you've got Amazon, IFTTT, and also with the new Hub 2, you've got Matter as well, which means you can use Apple HomeKit and integrate it to Home Assistant. With Home Assistant, you can also integrate it via Bluetooth proxy. Unfortunately, I've had an issue with this, so when I set up my SwitchBot account, I used a Google account, single sign-on, and that means that you can't actually do that method. I've tried to change the account to a non-single sign-on account, and I contacted SwitchBot support and they did that for me, but unfortunately the Bluetooth proxy still doesn't work, so I'm going to try reset everything up with a new account when I get time. When talking about a smart lock for your front door, then battery life is obviously pretty important. There's only 2 people in our house, and I'd say we use it maybe 5 times per day, which is a reasonable amount, but maybe if you've got more house members then it could be used a bit more. We do get various deliveries on some days, so we might use it more than that, but I haven't had to replace the batteries yet. I'm going to need to replace them soon, but I think 9 months is pretty good. And on the keypad, there's no sign of needing to change that battery anytime soon. Now on to things to improve. API reliability is obviously one of them, as I've already talked about. Also, another one is increasing the number of attempts before your keypad locks. I think this is a real problem because I've had it a few times whereby my finger's wet or a little bit dirty and I can't unlock the front door and then it's locked me out. And then I've got to go into the app because I've got my phone on me to unlock the keypad. This is a shame. I do think you should be able to increase this. I understand that it's for protection so that if someone steals your keypad, but I think you should be able to increase it to more than 5 attempts. Another weakness is something that I've touched on, is that you can't use the Bluetooth proxy through Home Assistant if you've got a single sign-on log on. Like I say, I'm going to try and create a new account and try and get that working, and then I might do an update in the comments. If they release a new generation of the smart lock, then I think they should definitely consider having more colours available, and hopefully they'll also work on the aesthetics a little bit too. So to wrap things up, I would definitely recommend this smart lock. I've used it for 9 months and I am very happy with it. And if you don't want to start hacking at your door, then it's a nice easy solution. Or if you're a renter, particularly if it's your first smart lock, because I think in the coming years, these are going to improve a lot. So it's good to try it out with something like this, and then maybe eventually you can get one that's integrated into your door itself. One thing in particular that would encourage me to get an integrated smart lock is if it can cater for multi-point locking systems, but I don't think that's going to come anytime soon because a lot of countries don't even have that. Well, that's it for this video. So if you found it useful, then please comment down below, like the video and consider subscribing if you haven't already. So thanks, until next time.